Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're actually going to go on my website, deadwoodjedi.com, because we're going to rank all of the top clan boss teams that are unkillable. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through it. I'm going to give you guys a nice little list, 1 to 10, the best clan boss teams, and talk really briefly about each of them. Now, there's a few caveats I have to go with, a couple of overview things, because, you know, I read the comments, I see what you guys talk about, and it's usually all over the place. But today what I want to make sure that you guys get is that, 1, it only matters what team you're running based off of the champions you have, right? Just because I rank a team number 1 doesn't mean that you have to run it. It doesn't really matter that much. The difference between team 1 and team 5 is probably going to be just the difference of, is it a better 1 key or a worse 1 key? But the bottom line is, it's still a 1 key. So does it really matter? Not really when it comes to the practical aspects of this game. It's just about, you know, what's fun for you and what champions you have, right? So like if you're a real end game, bit of a whale like myself, yeah, it's going to matter which champions you use, because you're going to want to use other champions for other parts of the game. Or maybe it doesn't matter at all, and I can just go as OP as I want to, right? You can be a super whale in that case. Or maybe you're free to play and you're like, dude, this is the only part of the game that matters because I get such good rewards and use every single champion I can. Well, that maybe gives you some different options as far as teams you can run and want to run, right? So definitely some flexibility here with that. So we're going to go through all the teams and I'll give you a list of what I think is going to be the 10 best unkillable champions for Raid Shadow Legends. And of course, I have to mention that if you do not see a team that you can build here, or you're not seeing the team that you wanted to see built here, make sure to go check out my website, deadwoodjedi.com. Go to the speed tune list. We got a whole bunch of teams listed there that you can check out. You can even filter it by champion, if it's a killer champion, or by the speed of the tune, or if it's unkillable or not. There's a lot of flexibility as how you can go about doing that. And of course, you can always build your own team uniquely yours by using the clan boss calculator and, you know, kind of come up with your own speed tune. That's an excellent way to go as well. So let's start with number 10 on our list, Double Demitha. Now, these are obviously, it's a pretty simple unkillable team, right? You have 2 Demithas going on a 3-2 ratio. So they're taking 2 turns and 1 turn, and 2 turns and 1 turn, each one alternating when they're using their unkillable ability, allowing you to stay death-free for 50 turns, right? It's really good. Plus, they're always extending those buffs, which makes for a really fun team. You can even use this as a, like, you know, budget infinity team, basically, and kind of do pretty good damage, I would say. Now, the cap on this is probably a 2-key team. I think that's doable with good gear and good champions. 3 key is probably very reasonable for people, but it's a really strong team. The hard part is obviously you only have room for 2 damage dealers, and one of them has to be either a cleanser or a debuff blocker to keep you affinity friendly. That can be a little bit trickier, but certainly something that is very doable with this team. So it's a fun team, pretty easy to build, which is great. The DPS are slow, so you can get pretty solid stats on them, and I would say a good entry-level clan boss team for people. And then we have the Unkillable, and this is a different team than I've run a lot for Clan Boss. I haven't done a lot of videos on this. It's been a while since I have. But if you like the budget Unkillable, the Unkillable is a really good option. Basically, it fits in a 4-3 ally attack champion into your team that can really up your damage for a budget unkillable squad. So definitely something I would recommend. It is definitely going to be a higher tier team, right? The speeds are a little bit faster, the gear requirements are a little bit higher. So while it follows the same ideas of a budget unkillable, this is for that next level. So this is definitely going to be 2 key is generally what you're going to be looking for on this, which is really good results. And we're talking over 35 million damage. But 3 key should certainly be possible, especially with that ally attack ability. It's a tricky thing with Painkeeper because of Painkeeper's Terminator boost, so you have to follow the instructions pretty closely, but if you do, it's a really strong team for you. Number 8 on this list is the Myth Tower team, and this is a really easy team to build. You have Tower going on a 4-3 ratio, blocking the AoE debuffs, and then the Mytha is going last in the turn order, blocking the stun. Very simple. And because we have that extension from Demitha, it becomes a lot easier to actually stay affinity friendly, blocking the affinity debuffs as well as the stun. But you can utilize a cleanser like Doom Priest to really good success as well. And it's a really easy team to build. It's really simple, very straightforward, and you can get really good results. 2 key damage is certainly something that's possible with this team. Nothing fancy about it, but it's definitely a good squad. And then number 7 does get a little bit fancier. We're talking about the Myth Eater team, and this is going to be a little bit fancier. We're talking about the Myth Eater team, and this is going to be one where you're utilizing a very fast Man Eater, and everybody else at pretty normal speeds with the Mytha to stay unkillable, right? And the best part is, because you have Man Eater in there, you're actually staying affinity friendly as well. So this is actually a really good option for a team build with some pretty good damage potential, because you do have a 4-3 ratio champion in there, so you can actually get some pretty solid damage out of this. I don't know if I would say this is a 1-key team, although it certainly has that potential if you have good enough champions and gear, but certainly I would say it's a 2-key team, but on the higher end of that. So if you have these champions, if you can make these speeds, this is an excellent way to go, especially if you're lacking someone like a Seeker or Deacon Armstrong or some other turn meter booster. This could be a really good option for you to build an unkillable team. And we go to number 6. This is a blast from the past, a classic. I'm talking about the Batman Forever team. Basically, this is going to be Seeker and 2 unkillable champions, and you're going to go at a 2-1 ratio for 50 turns and stay unkillable. Warcaster works, Sir Nicholas works, Tower works, Hellcat can definitely work in this team. There's lots of options as far as builds to go with this squad. It leaves you at least one DPS option who can be in Relentless, which is pretty bonkers, and a room for a cleanser as well, someone like a Doom Priest to stay affinity friendly. But you can put a DPS in there if you're not worried about affinity as well, and get really good damage out of your team. This is a really good team, really fun to build. Obviously the speeds are, rather high. It's a 2-1 ratio team, so that's the case, but it's unkillable, so you can really, you don't have to focus as much on other things. You just focus on damage and you focus on the speeds. It's a solid team, really good, and pretty easily can do 1-key damage for you. And then we get to the top 5, the creme de la creme. And now in this top 5, there's probably going to be some teams that aren't presented, and you guys are going to be going, wait, why isn't that team here? One of the things I did want to limit were teams that were going to be incredibly hard to build or required very specific champions. So while many of these teams do require specific champions, it's just not on the same level as some of the other squads that I decided to leave off the list. But you're going to see these are going to be really, really strong 1-key style teams generally. Or they're going to be incredibly easy to use and very reliable. So one of the things we're going to be starting with here at number 5 is the Myth Air team. And some of you might think this actually should be rated higher, and I can't argue with that too much. It's one of my favorite teams out there. The limitation, though, with it is that you really only have one DPS slot. And when you face certain affinities, it's got to be a red affinity champion in there so Eris doesn't take the stun. That's a pretty big limitation generally. So that's definitely something that is a negative with this squad. Otherwise, it's fantastic because the speeds required are incredibly slow for a team that has 2 champions running at a 3-1 ratio, which is insane. Obviously, you're relying on Demytha to stay unkillable. Eris can be incredibly good damage dealer when you put her in a toxic set. It's a very fun team. You get decreased defense from Weekend. There's not from get decreased defense from Deacon. So all you need to bring is a Weekend champion like a Geomancer, and you can have incredibly good success. This is one of the easier 1-key teams that is out there to build. If you can make the speeds, 1-key should be your result, or a very high 2-key. It's a really strong squad. And then number 4 is going to be the Easy Double Maneater. Man, I haven't changed that picture so long. That's the old video that I have there because it is such a quality team that didn't really need to update it. Easy Double Maneater is one of the best teams out there because all you need is 2 Maneaters, and then you're unkillable for 50 turns, you're affinity friendly for 50 turns, and you can really build 3 DPS champions at incredible numbers. It's great. The speeds are also one of the most reasonable unkillable speeds in this game. Nobody's faster than 220 speed. That's pretty wild, and most of them are considerably slower. So it's really easy to build this team for good damage. Now the hard part is you're not going very fast, you're not getting a ton of attacks, so 2-key damage is pretty much what you're looking at. Obviously, if you have incredibly good champions and gear, you can get to that 1-key slot, but you only have 3 DPS slots. You have 3 DPS slots plus 2 Maneaters, and the Maneaters can do damage. So if you can build everybody up, definitely 1-key is possible with this team, but generally you're going to get a 2-key damage out of this. Now, the biggest negative with this team, it takes a couple turns to set it up. It's not full auto from the start, so that's definitely a downside for it. But once you get used to this team, it's incredibly easy to run, incredibly effective to run, and definitely something I recommend for people. And then number 3 on the list is one of the new teams. I'm talking about the Slow Hellcat Unkillable team. And this is one of my favorites. I mean, this is basically the same as a Tower Unkillable team, right? But the Slow Hellcat, phenomenal team, absolutely phenomenal, because it's so easy to run. You just need Hellcat to stay unkillable. Shield for the stun, block damage for the AoEs, and as you've seen in the videos I've done with him, 1 key is definitely possible. 2 key is pretty easy, even with not great champions to do, and the speeds are incredibly reasonable. Hard part, obviously you need someone to block debuffs and you need someone to cleanse, but there are a lot of options out there to make that work for you. This is definitely one of the teams I recommend. There are also variations on this where you can bring in a 4-3 ratio champion, or you can bring in a 2 4-3 ratio champions. There's definitely some variations that can give you higher damage numbers or damage potential on your team, but for simplicity, there's really nothing that's going to beat this. And then we come to maybe the most classic team of all Clan Boss teams, the Bat Eater. I mean, created a while back by Rust, it is an incredibly strong team where you're utilizing 2 Man-Eaters and a Painkeeper and a Seeker to stay unkillable. This is, I think, the one and only, maybe outside of the Myth Eater team. Those are the 2 teams, the Myth Air team, excuse me. Outside of the Myth Air team, those are the 2 teams where you don't need a legendary to be 1 key Clan Boss. The only ones I'm really aware of that are like that. It's an incredibly strong team with a bunch of epics. Now, obviously, the best advantage is that you can run that DPS in Relentless, and it can run full auto from the start, and it's affinity friendly. So this is why this is better than the Batman Forever team. It's just so much more versatile for what you need. Really simple. Well, 1 key, pretty much any difficulty for you as well, which is really, really remarkable. The one limitation with the Bat Eater is while you can 1 key pretty easily, you do need the gear for it. This team, the Myth Fu team, doesn't require nearly as much gear requirement to get to that 1 key level, and that's why this to me is the best Clan Boss team, unkillable Clan Boss team out there right now. The Myth Fu is phenomenal. We're talking about getting Fushun as your speed lead aura, giving you that decreased defense. You got Seeker, you got Eris for the toxic, the Mytha keeping you unkillable, and then you still have room for a DPS champion, right? And for me, I run Turvold, and we do 120 million on Void. Like, it's insane the damage numbers you can get, and I've run this with a whole bunch of champions in that DPS slot, and it works every single time. And the best part is the speeds of the DPS are incredibly slow. Now, obviously, the speeds for the Mytha are fast. The speeds for Eris are fast, especially if you're putting in a toxic set. But overall, these are incredibly reasonable speeds to get to, and this can be an incredibly successful team. So 100%, this is one that I recommend. So those are the top 10 Clan Boss unkillable teams, in my opinion. Hopefully you guys agreed, but if not, that's okay. Just go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Where did I get it wrong? Is something too high, too low? Did I leave something off? It's possible. It's a lot of teams out there. It's hard to remember them all. We have over 100 teams on the website. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff to remember. So, let me know if I got something wrong. I'd love to hear from you. Obviously, don't be a jerk about it, or at least be funny if you're going to be a jerk. But I would love to hear from you guys on that. So leave a comment down below and make sure to visit the website, right? It's free for everybody. Just got to subscribe. That's all you got to do. Like, become a member basically, but it's a free membership, and you get access to the arena calculator, Clan Boss calculator, and the speed tune list. So make sure to go ahead and do that. And yeah, that's all we got. If you have time and you feel like it, hit that subscribe button. But otherwise, till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.